Lisa, could you start sharing the presentation?
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. We really love to record this session and then put it on our YouTube channel. I hope everyone is okay with this. If not, you have a few seconds to send us a chat. But I think most people, okay. Then later on, we put it on our YouTube channel, and then a lot of people rewatch it, which is always really nice to share our insights. Lisa, do you have the rights to start sharing the presentation?
Oh, I was already sharing. You can't see it?
Oh, yeah.
Let me try it
people...
again.
No, I think, oh no.
I could see it.
Oh yeah, I think there's something weird always going on with my Zoom. So...
Yeah, I can also see that.
So people see it except for me. That's convenient.
Just a second. Let me share it again. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Cool. And can you still see it?
Yeah. Perfect.
Great.
Okay. I have to check the settings for myself. But so what I just said, welcome everyone for this lunch panel discussion. It's a new format that we're trying out because we're now having an event with lovely colleagues of Lisa from ThoughtWorks, Catherine, and Junction. Hope I pronounce your name well. From China. So that's why we have to be a little bit creative with the time settings. I hope this works for everyone. We're UXify Eindhoven, and we're a meetup group that brings the design community together to share, learn, and connect. We're designers, startuppers, developers, students, juniors, seniors, experts. And at the moment, we have a community of 1,100 plus people on our meetup group. But we also have a lot of people in our community on LinkedIn and in Eindhoven, but also throughout the world. Because of Corona, we've grown our locations, which is really cool. Could you go to the next slide? Today we'll have a panel discussion, what I just introduced with people from ThoughtWorks. But before we start, we thought let's add some interactivity and let's break the ice together and get to know each other a little bit. So I have some sort of 3 different games, some sort of change your background game so we can get to know each other. And the first question is, okay, change your background into the city, a picture of the city that you are at this moment. I don't know if people are familiar with Zoom, but probably you see some sort of icon that says a video thingy, stop video, and you see a little arrow. When you click on it, you could choose virtual background. Ludovico already shows how wonderful his background could be. And I introduce you to, or invite you to change it to the location you're at this moment. I'm in Rotterdam, as you can see. I don't know if people see other people. There is also this little icon at the top right that says where you can change your view. So you could have speaker view or gallery view. I think if you change it to gallery view, you could see multiple people. See people scrolling to find backgrounds probably. Hey, Ludovico, you're also in Rotterdam. What a coincidence. But you're there at night. That's odd. Johannes, you're in Greece, I think, still?
Hi, Sarah. Yes, in Greece, Thessaloniki. And this is the view of the office,
Wow.
which is about 10 meters from the sea.
Wow.
So it's not the view, it's our garden, our front door.
Yeah. Wow. So jealous. This is also not my view. Nice, Sophie. I think she's also in Rotterdam. And Stefan, where are you?
I'm on the canals of the city of Amsterdam.
Really? I haven't seen Eindhoven yet. Oh, Jolijn, you're in Eindhoven. You're representing our community-based city.
Can you change the background?
How? So at the bottom of your screen, you probably see something like a video thingy.
Yeah.
It says something, and there you see the little arrow. And if you click on it, you find
Okay.
virtual background. Yeah. I see a lot of Rotterdam. Lisa, could you explain where you're at?
So this is not the view from the office, unfortunately, but this is the Shanghai skyline. And it's very pretty at night.
So you're in Shanghai.
Yep, I'm in Shanghai.
Nice. Catherine, where are you at?
I'm in Wuhan, and this is the night view of the riverside of Wuhan city.
Wow. Is it that dark yet or not?
It's not dark at all. Now it's basically, I'm in the office, so I can just show. No, I can't because it's
No.
it's still pretty light now.
Nice. And Junction?
My background actually is it's a city view of the city center of Shenzhen. I'm physically in Wuhan, just see this castle.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I think most people get a feel for this. I have two more of these change background challenges. What was the next one? Ludovico already shows how wonderful his background could be. And I introduce you to, or invite you to change it to the location you're at this moment. I'm in Rotterdam, as you can see. I don't know if people see other people. There is also this little icon at the top right that says where you can change your view. So you could have speaker view or gallery view. I think if you change it to gallery view, you could see multiple people. See people scrolling to find backgrounds probably. Hey, Ludovico, you're also in Rotterdam. What a coincidence. But you're there at night. That's odd. Johannes, you're in Greece, I think, still?
Hi, Sarah. Yes, in Greece, Thessaloniki. And this is the view of the office,
Wow.
which is about 10 meters from the sea.
Wow.
So it's not the view, it's our garden, our front door.
Yeah. Wow. So jealous. This is also not my view. Nice, Sophie. I think she's also in Rotterdam. And Stefan, where are you?
I'm on the canals of the city of Amsterdam.
Really? I haven't seen Eindhoven yet. Oh, Jolijn, you're in Eindhoven. You're representing our community-based city.
Can you change the background?
How? So at the bottom of your screen, you probably see something like a video thingy.
Yeah.
It says something, and there you see the little arrow. And if you click on it, you find
Okay.
virtual background. Yeah. I see a lot of Rotterdam. Lisa, could you explain where you're at?
So this is not the view from the office, unfortunately, but this is the Shanghai skyline. And it's very pretty at night.
So you're in Shanghai.
Yep, I'm in Shanghai.
Nice. Catherine, where are you at?
I'm in Wuhan, And this is the night view of the riverside of Wuhan City.
Wow. Is it that dark yet or not?
It's not dark at all. Now it's basically, I'm in the office, so I can just show. No, I can't because it's
No.
it's still pretty light now.
Nice. And Junction?
My background actually is it's a city view of the city center of Shenzhen. I'm physically in Wuhan, just this castle.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I think most people get a feel for this. I have two more of these change background challenges. What was the next one? Oh yeah, change your background in your favorite food. I also have to find this.
That's a proper lunch UX5 meeting.
Or food that you really like.
So first we need to download the food picture and then change it, right?
Yeah. Find it somewhere on internet and then save it somewhere and then you can edit indeed.
Yeah.
Roderick, is your favorite food sweets? Nice. I see some new people joining. We're just doing an icebreaker, changing our virtual backgrounds into the food we really love. Nice. I see sushi. Lisa, what is yours? What is it?
So these are, oh, let me move this way. So these are very typical noodles in Wuhan. They're called 热干面, which means hot dry noodles. And it's like with some peanut sauce and vegetables, and it's really good. And they eat it for breakfast mostly. But after that, you're completely full. Like you won't need to eat anything else that day.
And then you eat that at 7 in the morning?
You can, yeah. I usually eat it more for lunch, but it's typically definitely a breakfast food.
Nice. I see some pizza. I see some pasta. Berkay, what is yours?
This is called çiğ köfte, which directly translates to raw meatballs, and it's with bulgur and with raw meat. They cook the meat by friction, so you basically need to squeeze and mash the meat with your hands for like an hour so that the meat can cook. It's amazing.
So you don't actually cook it with heat? Like
correct. So it cooks with the heat of friction of the bulgur, and the tray has some kind of bumps at the bottom. So you just also press it against it. But it takes a lot of effort, so you need to deserve it to be able to eat it afterwards.
Nice.
So funny how you see people dissolving into food.
Yeah. Yeah, Jojo, yeah.
I think my camera has some problem. You can't really see me. Food is too spicy to show.
Yeah.
What is your food?
Yes, well, it's a cuisine. So it's a hot pot for my hometown city, Chengdu, and we eat this very spicy hot pot yeah, whatever you want, and they have 24 hours restaurant. You can eat it 2 a.m. during the night after you hangover. And then you have a total diarrhea in the morning because it's too spicy with alcohol together. Very delicious. But we don't have it in the Netherlands yet. Maybe in the future. That's one of my favorites. I can't really see my face. I don't know why.
No, nice. Thanks for sharing. Should we go to the last one and then we can kick off this event really properly? Elisa, could you share the last?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's Friday afternoon. I'm a little bit slow.
The last one was.
Oh, this way.
That are the best of your culture, or really cool part of your culture. Just have to think of this. There aren't really cool stuff Dutch people have, I think. So for me, it's really like having the canals frozen in the winter sometimes. It's not really typical, but it's really cool. And then you can ice skate through your own city. I think that's really cool.
I wanted to do that when it was frozen in the Netherlands, but all the skating shoes are rent out. And I wanted to buy it online for a new pair of skating shoes, and then they said the delivery will take 20 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I just walked on the canal on my own shoes.
What was that experience like?
Pretty slippery, but it was very cool. It's my first experience because in Chengdu we never snow, so I was like overexciting. It's I've seen the most snow of my whole life in the Netherlands.
Cool, really cool. Hilke, I'm curious, what is your background and why?
Dutch painters, combined with a typical Dutch snowy afternoon.
Wow.
Sure, it's not a summer day, Hilke, in the background. Looks like summer.
There is snow.
Lodo, what's yours?
It's the sun. So in Italy, it's warm. In Holland, it's not. That's the best thing about Italy.
Nice. I'm curious about all of them, basically, but let's pick someone that hasn't spoken yet. Roderick.
Yeah, this is a picture of a new building in Rotterdam. So it's for the Dutch architecture. This is from a famous architect, MVRDV, who also built a lot in China, actually. But this is one just around, down the street here, and it's a new collection building for art. Like the Boymans has a lot of art stored, and in this building they're going to open it up to the public. So that's really nice, and it's a very, like, they call it the bloom pot, so the flower pot, and it's shaped like a flower pot, but it's reflecting, so you actually see the rest of the city in its reflection, which is really cool.
I think it's really cool. So last one, Junxiong. What is the?
My background is actually more of the traditional Chinese characters. So it's very. I really like the shape. Yeah, the shape of the Chinese characters. I think it's really good for, and apparently it's really difficult for foreigners to learn about it.
Yeah. Looks really cool.
Apparently.
I can tell.
Okay. Wow, this was really fun. Shall we really start this panel discussion? And I think Lisa will first share something about the company and about the speakers, and then we can discuss stuff.
Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So hi, everyone. And thanks, Sarah, for this fun icebreaker. And thanks, everyone, for joining during your precious lunchtime. Really appreciate it. So first, we will introduce ourselves, and we will introduce a little bit about ThoughtWorks before we kick off the discussion. So my name is Lisa. I'm an experienced designer at ThoughtWorks. And I still have cheese in my background. It's a bit distracting. I'm from the Shanghai office, where I'm at right now. And I moved to China about 3.5 years ago. So I'm from the Netherlands. But I moved to China basically to experience something completely different and see what that's like and learn from it. So I'm also very happy to be connected with this Dutch UX community and be able to share back some of the things that I've learned in the past couple of years. Yeah, and I'll pass it on to my colleague, Catherine.
Hello, this is Catherine, and my Chinese name is Yangshan. And it's quite actually interesting that in China, actually our first name comes to the last. So I really hate when, for example, in Zoom or any like Outlook things, that they put my name as Shan Yang, which is like following the most of the world's rule to put the family name to the last. Then that makes my name from Yangshan to Shanyang, which is actually goat in Chinese. So I hate that a lot. That's why. So that's why instead of having my Chinese name, I love my Chinese name. Thanks my parents giving me a nice name, but I still prefer to avoid potential goat. So that's and I have been in ThoughtWorks for around 5.5 years, being as a business analyst. And thanks to this company, I do have a lot of chances to work to different kind of global accounts, and also traveling around the world for a lot of different kind of projects. So it's pretty nice that Lisa can be another bridge between us and you guys, so that we can like sit together in a nice Friday afternoon for us, noon for you guys to share some thoughts. Thanks.
Yep. Hi everyone, my name is Junxiong. Maybe it's a bit hard for you to pronounce my Chinese name, so we put a very small notes here. Maybe we hope this can help you. And I'm also an UX designer based in Shenzhen office in China, in ThoughtWorks. I think Shenzhen is a very young and coastal city, and there are many very big technical companies like Tencent and Huawei. Their headquarters located here, so there are plenty of young people working here. And I've been joining ThoughtWorks for about 2 years. I think one of the biggest reasons I joined ThoughtWorks is because we have a very diverse and inclusive culture here to allow you to work for different kinds of projects with some international clients and cross-cultural and multidisciplinary team. So we as an UX would be able to work closely with the different roles like business analyst, analytics and devs to deliver a very good user experience of the product. So I'm very happy to be here to join this meetup session, and we can talk more about the topics in the later stage. Yep, thank you.
Cool. And then before we move on, I'll briefly talk a bit about ThoughtWorks as well. So ThoughtWorks is a global software consultancy, and technology has always been very much at the core of this company. And the company has been around for about 25 years, over 25 years. And one of the leaders in our company is also one of the authors of the Agile Manifesto. So that's really something that is often what we're known for in the industry, especially amongst the developer community. And when we talk about design, we really talk about integrated design, because our design thinking is combined with technology expertise and also driving business value. So as Jung-Sheng already mentioned, we have multidisciplinary teams. We have developers, designers, business analysts, and also other types of consultants who are more experienced in a certain domain, like for example, IoT. And we all work very closely together when we work on projects. And to give you an idea of the type of projects that we commonly work on, it can be different things. One of them is, for example, customer experience strategy, which is very research focused, where we uncover more insights about our clients' customers and uncover new business opportunities. And we do this through a process called discovery. And we also do idea to market, which is really an end-to-end delivery type of project where we launch an MVP or a specific set of features. And then what we also do is product management transformation, which is where we help businesses also transform their way of working and help their teams be self-sustaining. So this is kind of like the type of work that we do. And how we do that is, and I think this diagram is familiar to some of you. This is our process for how we make sure that we are building the right thing and then also building it right. So this double diamond, as some of you know, is about design thinking. And this is how we make sure that our strategy is adaptive, but also joining it up with really executing the work. So I would say design thinking is how we explore and solve our problems, but we use Lean as a framework for kind of testing out our beliefs and learning our way to the right outcomes, and making sure that we are building the right thing before we actually move forward. And then we use Agile a lot to adapt to changing situations or conditions in software to make sure that whatever we are building is also built in the right way. And this is also very in line with some of our guiding principles, which one of them is that we want to think big. So from the beginning, we want to find out what are the most important problems and opportunities to solve for our clients. And then we focus on delivering value. So we can start small, but we want to focus on something that is meaningful and not just easy to do. And we do this by moving fast. So we use our Lean and Agile methodology to make sure that we move quickly to where we want to go. And then this is a slide where I just flash some logos at you. It's mainly to give you kind of an idea of the type of companies that we partner with. And we work in different industries. So it can be financial sector, or retail, technology, transportation, and also healthcare and public services. And this is where we are located. So as you can see, we are really, we truly are a global community. And we often work across different offices or even countries. And this really allows us to not only learn from diverse people with different backgrounds, but also learn from the different expertise that comes from each of these regions. And that also ties into our topic for today, which is global collaboration. And we'll mostly be talking about it from ThoughtWorks China perspective with you guys. So I will hand it over to Sarah, our host, to kick things off.
Yeah, really cool. Thank you for your introduction and introduction of the company. Maybe it's best to stop sharing this so everyone sees everyone. And then later on, maybe we can take some slides as supportive material for the discussion. I'd like to have this discussion a little bit interactive, a little bit informal. I think we're already at that level, so that's cool. If there's questions from the public, of course they are welcome, and maybe we can ask them in the chat, and then I can see how I can incorporate them in the discussion. And then there's 3 bigger topics, and every topic we kick off with the poll, which I will now start. Let's see how this works. I think people are now seeing the poll. It's of course really black and white, but it's just to start the discussion. So the question is, every company could be successful in China as well. I don't know if you all see it as well. Agree, not agree. So agree, it's now on 2, and not agree, it's on 5. We'll leave it open just for a bit. And not agree is on the lead. Not agree, still on the lead. Okay, so no, as a group, we don't agree on this. Or do you see now the results? I don't know. I think now you see the results. Yeah, so no, we don't agree. Okay, cool. So that leads us to the first topic that we want to discuss, like what kind of challenges does ThoughtWorks China help to tackle overseas companies? And I see this whole thing popping up all the time. And yeah, how could you make your product successful, for example, in the Chinese market? Or maybe Lisa, maybe you can start discussing this a little bit, and then.
Yeah, maybe I can just start from saying like what kind of challenges we help our client with. I think generally we work with overseas companies for 2 reasons. One is if they want to leverage some technology that we have very expert teams on that topic here in China. So then in that case, it's not necessarily that they want to enter the Chinese market, but they want to do something very technically advanced. And we have a lot of knowledge here in China to help them do that. And then the second thing is when they want to actually enter the Chinese market. So maybe there are an international brands and they're already in Europe or US, but they haven't reached the Chinese audience yet, and they want our help to achieve that. And that can be like, they can be in different stages. It could be that they are entering the Chinese market for the very first time and they don't know anything yet. It could also be that they already are in China, but haven't been as successful as they want to be. That can be due to many different things, like maybe they are not located here, so they are lacking some knowledge and deep understanding of local customers. So that is kind of the type of clients that we work with. And yeah, depending on where they are in their journey, we will have different types of projects, but usually we will start from doing research for them, both on the market and their target audience, because the channels that they use and the type of the type of apps and products they use can be completely different to Europe. So that also means that the way that they offer their products here need to be very different, need to address the right needs for their customers. So that's what we help them do, because we are located here, so we can do that kind of research for them and help them understand better their own customer segments. Yeah, I'm sure Catherine and Jingxiong have more to add to that.
So I think generally Lisa already made it pretty throughoutly for our basically business in China market. And I think both our poll and everyone's stereotype already told us that China is quite a special market. No matter basically how successful you are in everywhere else in the world, it doesn't mean that you can be as successful as you are in China market due to complicated reasons. So what ThoughtWorks do a lot is that we kind of try to understand their business really quickly, and sometimes we do even travel to somewhere else in the world to kind of learn more what are the advantages and what are the capabilities that our client have, and then bring back to China and do something we call discovery, which is like a more exploration and understanding the holistic market status quo and also the potential audience for our client, and then start from there to kind of design the China user experience or the China journey for our client. Some of them can eventually lend to a mobile app, for example, and some of them are not actually. They may only be just something like exploration, a brand strategy, or a official website to help them to build a better communication to the actual Chinese audience. So that's basically what we do.
And how do you then kick off this collaboration with the company? Jingxiong, maybe you can share something about it?
I think usually, just as Catherine mentioned, like we maybe have different types of projects. Sometimes we need to go to the client's office, like to talk with them in more details about their needs, like what their strategies and what their positionings. And we may have run some different rounds of workshops. Maybe we use different frameworks to help them. We go do together to help us to understand their business goals, both for short term and long term, and also understand their target users. And then we, after we're all clear, and then we do a very solid user research and also some market research to generally understand their target market. Then we like kind of giving them their insights, then maybe we can decide which directions we want to go with later stage.
And are there some cultures that is more difficult to have this collaboration with? Or maybe personal experience that you once had that were maybe difficult, challenging in a way?
Because to be honest, for a lot of clients, they are new to China, or they are even new to the whole Asia market. So a lot of lifestyle or the way that people think, or the way that everybody is going through for their daily life can be a complete difference for them. It's like a cultural shock. So what we also do in the discovery is that when we do all the kinds of the discovery activities that Jingxiong and myself just mentioned, we have our client together with us to kind of go into the real scenarios, and we can guide them to show what is the Chinese preference and what are the practices in the local market. For example, I remember that few years ago, before the pandemic, I'm pretty sure that there was quite a famous European supermarket chain that wanted to open the China market. So what we did is, instead of actually start to do the solutioning and designing the experience, we had a a tour with them to kind of visit different kind of cities, such as like big city like Shanghai and Shenzhen, or middle cities such as Wuhan, and show their like China supermarket like Hema, which is something that completely different in the European market. And based on there, they can have a rough idea about, okay, this is how this market prefers. And then from there, we start our actual solutioning and the experience designing. I see someone raise their hands. I'm sorry, I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, so I prefer not to pronounce at all. So
That's all good. I indeed have a question. Like of course, China is a different market and different culture from the European. But I'm wondering if that also translates into a different set of UX patterns, or like, do you really design a different type of interface for the Chinese market than you would elsewhere?
Yes, short answer. Yeah, and I think Jungsho and Catherine will be able to supplement, but definitely there are a lot of like, and it's very interesting because it can be very practical differences, but it can also be based on different behaviors. So it could also be that we decide to build an app completely on top of WeChat instead of actually build a separate app, because WeChat is already a super elaborate platform. People use it every day, and they actually prefer to use that rather than having to download a lot of additional apps. So that's a very practical thing. And WeChat has a very powerful function called mini programs, which is like tiny apps. They're not that heavy to load. They're pretty fast. But you can do a lot of things with that. So it's very powerful, and especially for marketing reasons, that is a good way to do it. So that's more like a practical thing, and like making sure that you use technology that is available in China. For example, when Uber first launched in China, they were asking your credit card information during the sign up, but actually most people in China don't use credit cards on a like in that way. Like I think even in Europe you don't do it that much. It's more like an American thing, I would say. But that was a very high threshold for people to even sign up for Uber. And then the second problem they had was that they were still using Google Maps for navigation, but that doesn't work well in China either. So they did switch to Baidu, I think, after that, but it's already like a very high threshold for people to start using. And then besides the technology, there are a lot of like smaller UX things that you need to pay attention to. Like one very obvious one is color. Like if we would use red buttons in our interface, that usually like looks like something alarming, but in China that's not necessarily the case. So I had a lot of times in the beginning where you get a pop-up and then it's like, oh, I should definitely not press the red button. But in most cases, that's like the main call to action. So that is quite different. And another thing is like, another example that I can think of is like for logging in general, it is very common in Europe to use your email address or to connect it to your Google account. But in China, many people don't use their email address, or they might not even have one. So your phone number is really the thing that you use to sign up for stuff, or you connect it to your WeChat. So sometimes we also help clients in that way to like redefine their login experience to actually make it work for their Chinese customers to be able to sign up successfully.
Just to supplement, for example, the difference between China and probably the majority of the world in terms of the phone number is that Chinese people, we don't really read our emails, or we don't even have an email. For example, my parents, they definitely don't use their email box at all. And also for phone, that it is pretty common, I would say, at least to me, to have the push notification of your app or whatever digital product you have through the text message to tell people, okay, this is the flow. But in China, it can be a totally different thing because our phone number is very overused. So like every day I can get like 50 messages full of different kind of junk messages. It's a bit similar as email in many other places in the world. So when we actually design an app or whatever for anything important, we prefer not to send the information via text message or email. You need to find some other ways to kind of interact to your customers. So those are the tiny points that can actually make a lot of difference.
Thanks, super insightful.
Yeah, really cool discussion already. Andy, you also have a question?
Yeah, I was thinking about visual language as well, because when I was in Japan, that's different than China, but you see their visual communication is much more different. They, for example, use more childish cartoons, and the information is much more dense. Does that also apply in China, that there's a little bit of different visual language to how information is presented?
I think so. I can take a step on that question as well. Actually not only about the visual language, but also the actual text language. Because, for example, a lot of our clients, when they want to start their Chinese market, what they do is to translate whatever things in their application or their website. But actually, that Chinese is as a language can be way simpler than the English. In English, like this long, but in Chinese, it's like those two sentences. And if you just do the direct translation, not changing the layout together with the translation, then your website will look a bit weird to many people. It's like a bug because there's gonna be a very big space over there. And also about the visual languages. And Chinese people, we don't, I won't be able to represent all the Chinese people according to our large population anyway, but we do have a tendency that we prefer to see the visual messages in video, especially short video, and live stream is extremely big now in China as a communication tool instead of reading long messages, etc. So all of them can turn into a design decision when we actually design something to our Chinese customers.
Yeah, because I once designed a Japanese app, and the Chinese and the Japanese characters are like a visual element on itself. So when I replaced all the text, I lost all context of the app. I didn't, there's nothing. Yeah, it's really weird. Something really fundamental happened, but I don't know what, when I replaced everything with Chinese characters, because you lose all context and all meaning. And yeah, it's kind of weird. So I've been thinking about what is that exactly that's bothering my mind. But yeah. Thank you.
There's also a thing with when you use Chinese characters, it's harder to emphasize the hierarchy of the information, because, for example, with Latin characters, you can use capital letters to distinguish between different sections, or, for example, and so in Chinese characters, you have to find different ways to highlight the hierarchy, and you can use different spacing or different boldness. But what they also often do is like adding some visual elements to the header sections to indicate that hierarchy more.
Okay, it's interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe I can supplement a little bit. I think Chinese people are more tolerant for the very the density of the information, and also visual complex. So we can see a lot of like Chinese websites, especially for the e-commerce website. There are plenty of information only like organized in one page. So we can just use one glance to see a lot of information in one page. But when we compare to some like foreign websites, we can see a very clean and very large space. Yeah, maybe, yeah, Catherine can show to them. Yeah, this is a very famous e-commerce platform in China, Taobao. It's kind of like Amazon. Yeah, we can see a lot of information presented in one page.
It's like a kilometer long of everything. People are used to it.
I think Lisa also had a slide that she showed me once where she had two different apps having some sort of the same purpose, but then in the European market and in the Chinese market. Maybe you can show, because it's exactly what we're talking about right now. The information overload, it felt for me like, what? how can you find stuff here? But it's normal. So yeah, it's also funny how you get, I don't know, used to this and how it works in one culture and how it maybe doesn't work in another culture. I don't know if it has to do with certain patterns that we're used to, and maybe we could also introduce this in different cultures, or maybe it's just so dependent on the culture that it will never work in another continent. Maybe someone wants to share about this add-on.
Yeah, I saw a presentation yesterday where it said a big design trend for 2021, and it's always a design trend in the West, it's minimalism, but this is completely contradictory. So I wonder how this would work in Dutch market.
I actually also see the opposite happening here in China, that there are more apps also trying to seek for a more minimalistic design. But most of the apps still look like the one that you see here on the left, which is also the Taobao, which is the same as the website that Catherine was showing. But there are some examples like Ctrip, which is like let's say the Chinese version of booking.com. And they first had the app on the left. They still have this app today in China. But they created a completely separate app for their foreign users in China. And as you can see, it looks very different. Of course, some elements are still the same, but you can see that they try to do something different visually that would probably attract more to foreign users. So it's interesting that they do look at that. But you can see that their Chinese app today is already adopting some of the elements that they initially used for their international app and turning it into like their main visual language. So for some companies, they are changing it in this way.
Do you also think there's some kind of role for design maturity, so that eventually we'll go towards Western standards also in China, or?
I'm not sure, because I do think that everything in China is developing kind of separately on its own in like their own ecosystem. So I feel like it might even it might be that it's going to be more like what we have in Europe, but I think that would be maybe just a coincidence. Like, I don't think they're looking too much at what other apps are doing outside of China, but more looking at like what could be the new trends in China itself. And especially for like graphic design is very, I would say it's very detail oriented, very sophisticated, a lot of tiny elements in it. And I think that's very characteristic for China. And I think that's something that wouldn't disappear that easily.
And I want to comment a little bit also is that in China, because of our population and also the digitalization level, the app or whatever digital product, actually the audience aging range can be extremely big. Like my grandpa is 85 years old this year, and she is like so into different type of digital products. She's like on TikTok every single day. So it's like the simplicity is more like, I would say for Chinese young people would probably like it, but not necessarily with my grandma, who is very Chinese traditional and love to put everything she like on on both her mobile phone and also her house. So so it's kind of that, like the range of the audience kind of impact the layout and also the design style, I would say.
Yeah, I think another reason is because many products in China nowadays, they are trying to integrate multiple functions in one app or one program. So that's why they look very complex, because they combine a lot of functionalities into one. Maybe, for example, the mobile e-commerce app, it's not only for shopping, you can also buy some like movie tickets and also buy some things on the e-commerce stuff. And also like you can also play some mini games on it. So it's kind of mix of different functionalities. I think it's their company strategies. They want to their users to keep using their app and not using any others. Yeah, that's their strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting discussion. Shall we continue to the next part and then shorten that one, and then we have some room for personal experience, because I think that's also really cool to chat about. I will open the next poll. It's more about collaboration between different cultures in one team. And the poll is more about working remotely. As you saw, ThoughtWorks have offices throughout the entire world, and they also collaborate with colleagues throughout the entire world. And how successful is this? Is this successful also in the future? At this moment in the Netherlands, we mostly, I think, work from home still. But in China, everyone is back to normal, which is really cool to see. But I think at ThoughtWorks, it's quite common to work remotely with each other. A lot of people, or actually all the people, not agree on this statement at this moment. Not agree.
No one agrees, actually.
No one agrees. No one agrees with this. Cool. Catherine, could you maybe share a little bit how this collaboration between different offices work with different colleagues with different cultures?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm very lucky that I joined ThoughtWorks actually as a graduate, and this is my first job. And when I did my office interview, even before I joined ThoughtWorks, the HR told me that actually if I accept this offer, I will be sent to Sydney for 2 months. And I told my mom was like, is this a real company or it's a fishing company? Is that really true? Because you are a graduate, like why they want to afford this whole trip for you? And I think I made the right choice by joining ThoughtWorks, and I visited Sydney and stayed there for 2 months for my very first project, and I really liked that experience, and that becomes my routine after ever since I joined ThoughtWorks. So to be honest, I really believe that I'm also like not agree on this one because it's too extreme. It says completely remote for every single project. I don't think that's gonna work, to be honest. But in ThoughtWorks, we actually have a nice combination between working completely remote and also sitting together, drinking whiskey or beers together to kind of build that connection. And that's also the reason why I was sent to the Sydney for 2 months because my role was like to be a bridge between the China team and also the Australian team at that time. So I was sent there, and I kind of learned the culture there, and I was embedded into the team, working every day with them. And then when I sent back, I kind of immediately become the bridge between the two sides of the team, and we respect each other, and we have like different stand-ups in the Zoom to make sure, because in Australia the time difference is like 3 hours, so they work 3 hours earlier than us. So we have our stand-up noon instead of which usually takes place at the morning. And also we even do something like remote brown bag meeting that we do the remote team building by two sides of the team go to the different restaurant or even the same chain store like McDonald's, those boring ones, to have that kind of remote team building, so we see each other eating and discussing. Just you can be pretty awed, to be honest, when you sit in a restaurant and having a laptop in front of there and chatting with the other side and look exactly the same background. But all those tiny things can kind of build a bridge of people, because we are eventually human beings. No matter what kind of product we're building, no matter which team or what kind of culture we came from, we are eventually human beings. So human being needs interaction, that's for sure. And thought workers visit our clients constantly, usually like every 3 months. And our clients will also like constantly visit us during the before the pandemic, of course, to kind of have that connection. And we feel each other. We know that we trust each other, to be honest. I actually became very good friends with some of my clients, and we are no longer like working partners, but also like life friends with each other. So I think from all those tiny things, we build the connection. And also that we always have a whole like methodology of doing the offshore delivery, which is pretty common, especially in China. We have a lot of practices that will be adopted by the offshore delivery team, no matter which project or which client that is. For example, we have something called always on. So that's the camera with the TV standing in front of the team, having it on. And there is another one on the other side of the world, maybe in Germany, anywhere, that when we have that kind of, let's say, time when the hour that we both are working, the shared time lag, you just go to the camera and shout someone's name, and that person will come to kind of break the physical wall of the actual geography thing. And also, for example, we have the digital board. As an agile team, we always have the physical board, but for the remote team, we always have the digital board that everything is updated there. You don't need to actually call someone to know some tiny things. You can just refer to the board and it's all there. So all those kind of practices help us to like break the ice and also break the walls for the physical ones to kind of stay connected as a whole team. So in general, I think it worked pretty well. And ever since the pandemic, we no longer be able to actually visit our client, or our client wouldn't be able to visit us either. So we are all like trying to get used to it. And up till now, I think it works pretty fine. So yeah, generally that's our practice to kind of break the both cultural and also geography wall between ourselves and the client.
Yeah. But you mentioned that for now it works quite well, but yeah, do you then agree that having this remote all the time will also be successful in the long term?
But to be honest, it's my personal view. I don't represent ThoughtWorks anymore. Maybe because of my personality, I still prefer. I definitely miss the old days, because especially when you like setting up the relationship, it's just like when you start a relationship, if you already have a very good connection or have a very, very good trust with your partner, then remote relationship won't be a big challenge. But if you never see him, you just like fell in love with someone from the internet, then your relationship won't last that long. So I really hope this pandemic can no longer be a thing and we can go back to the old days. Because if you never met your boyfriend or your partner or whatever, that you really want to marry him or whatever, you need to make a lot of effort instead of like casually taking care of this relationship. So that's my own view, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe Jung-Sheng, can you maybe share something about how you experience this?
Yeah, I think in my previous projects, I think especially for offshore project, I think one of the biggest challenges for us is the time difference. Once I was in a project, we need to collaborate with the US client. Not only communicate with the client, but we also need to like collaborate with the US team in ThoughtWorks. And so that makes the projects even harder because there is time difference. So some feedback is not so quick to be reached out to us. And sometimes we have some design output or something we need to clarify. We need to wait for 1 day for the client's feedbacks. So that kind of challenge for us, but we just set up a very solid schedule for everyone. Like we have set up a very regular catch-up meeting. So we catch up every day, maybe even at late night, so we can align with each other. And in terms of collaboration with designers, we currently trying to use tools called Figma. We used to use Sketch because we do the design works by ourselves. But if we want to collaborate with someone else, especially someone is not in the same time zone with you, you need to. So we use the Figma as a collaboration tool for us. It can allow us to collaborate in one page. Yeah, I think that's our solutions for time difference collaboration.
Yeah.
And also, I totally agree with Catherine because I think remotely work is very lack of real communication and interactions. Because in ThoughtWorks, we have a kind of module called TW. It's the TW University for some fresh graduates. So the company will allow the graduate to go into either Xi'an or India to participate like 4 weeks courses. At that time, you can meet like different people from different countries, and so works they get together and learning and like do mini projects by themselves. I think it's really fun and very collaborative. But I think my TW experience is totally remoted because it's during the pandemic. So I think it works, but it's like a lot of fun and real communications. So,
yeah, I totally understand. Johannes has a nice question. Any other team thinking habits or processes that are common in the Chinese culture but not common in another culture? Is there something you can find, like an anecdote or, for example, stand-up meetings, how retrospectives are done, or Lisa?
Yeah, I have to think about this one because what I think is really interesting about ThoughtWorks is that no matter which office you visit around the world, they all have the same practices. But that's because we are like agile is such a strong factor in our company. But the only reference I have is maybe the company I used to work at before in Shanghai, which I think they did things a little bit differently. Like, for example, we did a stand up in the morning with everyone. So we were working on different projects, but we were updating each other on what is the status of our project, which is something that would be impossible to do in ThoughtWorks because we have too many people. But in that company, it was kind of a good way to update each other on the status of different projects. But I'm not sure that that is actually representative of other Chinese companies. So I think, I don't know if Catherine or Jingxiong have some examples from maybe your friends that they do things differently. But I think in general, Agile and Scrum and that kind of way of working is maybe less mature in local companies in China, depending on the kind of industry that they're in. But I would say in general, it's used less often. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do have the experience with Chinese local or domestic companies as well in ThoughtWorks as our client. And to be honest, the way that they were, because like it's for both myself and Junxiong, like ThoughtWorks is our only working experience ever since we graduated. So the only lens that I can use is when I do domestic clients. So to be honest, I think they are less collaborative than ThoughtWorks or any other potential companies in the world. For example, in ThoughtWorks, we really love to do the collaborative workshops. So like ideation, that the design shred that everyone can join, etc., etc. And for some of our local or domestic accounts, people find less comfortable in doing this. I think both of the culture and also the personality, they will easily to be too shy to draw us anything, because they think that, oh no, I don't know how to draw. Then maybe we just like, you can tell us what you are thinking about, and then I can comment on that instead of me drawing it. And also a lot of local companies, they are very report driven instead of like collaboration driven. They love to like PPT, which is like 50 slides of the keynotes, and they especially for the like higher management level, they are very into the PPT reporting rather than, hey, let's do a collaborative workshop together and then we can all learn from that. They are not used to that. They were like, either I'm too busy for that, or it's waste of time to do that because I'm not a design expert anyway. That's why I hire you guys here. So for those kind of clients, for ThoughtWorks, to be honest, we have that kind of cultural clash because we don't really spend a lot of time in PPTing or making the beautiful reports. We prefer to get things done and sharing and also learning from each other. So we need to find a workaround that works both for ThoughtWorks and also our client. For example, we had a client that really want to do the reporting showcase or every single week when we finish things. But it can be super tiring if you want to turn all the output into the nice PPT. You need to work extra hours. So our workaround is basically we did like a fair. So we organized whatever output we had visually from the workshop and presented just like those kind of working fair, so that every Friday afternoon, instead of making PPT, we make it like a guided tour of our paper and the sketches. And both of us are happy about that instead of like spending too much time for the PPT. Yeah. So I think those are something that could be a bit different for like more international or more Western centric companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very outcome driven. So more interested in the deliverables than necessarily how you get there. And we really like to share like our methodology and get feedback very often and do iterations. But all of that is fine. But it's I think they're often more interested in what does the final thing look like? What, like, show me the shiny design, not the wireframes, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Show me the end results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how we do that, that's fine. That's fine. But it's not, yeah, it's maybe not something that they're most interested in to see the process.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I think multiple companies are struggling with this. Maybe it's not necessarily like domestic Chinese companies, but I think also in the Netherlands there are people still working like this. Should we Definitely. Go to the last part, because that's more about personal experiences of studying or living or working in a different culture, and I'm really curious about this. I will open the last poll. So do you have experiences with working, living in a different culture? Yes, in the past, I see a lot. Yes, at this moment. In the past. No one that has no experiences with this. Share results. I'm one that would have voted no. I would have had experiences in Ethiopia, but then, well, Corona happened, and there's some sort of civil war going on in Ethiopia, so it was not really safe to go there. So unfortunately for me, it's a nope. But cool to see. Yes, in the past, yes, at this moment. To round off this discussion, I'm really curious about some personal observations or learnings or insights within, I don't know, going to another culture. And I think all three of you have experiences with this because of your work, but I think also because of your studies, if I understand correctly. Junction, I think you studied in the UK as well?
Yes.
You could open your mic then, Catherine. This also works.
Yeah, during my master's degrees in Hong Kong, I did an exchange to the UK. So I got a chance to working with the local design teams, the students teams for some local projects. So I think I find some, the design teams in the UK is kind of different with China. Maybe it's because of the value of society and also the development level and education system. I think one of the biggest difference I find is when we're doing the design projects throughout the entire design process, the UK design team will spend loads of their time on generating creative ideas. Like they would like to briefly draw the ideas on the paper, and we ask questions about the ideas, and then we expand the possibilities for different ideas, and we can also doing some design research about each of the ideas, and then we carry out to another round of brainstormings. So I think, in my opinion, this kind of process is trying to rapidly came out of multiple different design possibilities to establish the initial design directions. But I think in China, I think mostly for the traditional companies, not in ThoughtWorks, I think ThoughtWorks is already very mixed culture. I did an internship in a very traditional companies before. I think in a design team in that company, the role of the responsibilities in each team is very narrow and detailed. So usually when we do design when we do designing the product managers will figure out the needs very clear, and then they will find a UX designer to draw the wireframes. Then they will give it to the visual designers to draw to do the design executions. So the responsibilities divided into very detailed and narrow, so designers might not be able to join projects from the beginning. But I feel like if our designers could have more opportunities to work along with the entire project, not just doing the execution works, but also in some strategic positioning level, maybe we can create more great products. And also in ThoughtWorks, I think our designers will have the opportunities to join a team. Maybe for some projects, we can do some from 0 to 1 project. So we can create ideas together with the team and also with our clients. I think it's really good for us.
Yeah, cool. Lodo had a question, and I actually also had that question to round off this discussion. So I think it's nice to to end it like this. What would be your top 3 things, tips to know or have when going to another culture? For example, when you move from the Netherlands to China, or the other way around. Maybe Lisa, you could share first, and then all 3 of you could share maybe one thing about your experiences, tips.
I think number 1 has to be a very practical one, because otherwise you don't get to go, is figure out your visa. Because coming to work in China, the visa process is actually quite complicated, and you're not necessarily guaranteed that you will get a work visa. Especially if you don't have so much work experience yet, it can be harder. And at that time, I only worked for like 1.5 years. So that's a very tricky thing. So do your research, because it could also be that the agency helping you also doesn't know everything. So in my case, I really had to do my own research to make it happen. So that's a very practical thing, like know the visa situation. The second thing I would say is like to have an open mind, to be willing to explore and you know, try different things, because that's in the end why you, at least in my case, that's why I came here to just observe and see what it's like and how I could like position myself in this completely new context. So then I think the third thing is probably like also be willing to adapt, because like not necessarily everything is going to be the same or what you expected, but that's also the fun thing about it. So be willing to adapt, and I'm pretty sure that I'm still Dutch, but I'm also sure that if I go back to the Netherlands now, there's probably some habits I picked up that I'm not aware of now. But it's really a fun thing to try and learn from a new culture, and like see yourself be more comfortable with it over time.
Yeah, cool. Catherine, what's your main tip or handful of tips?
I don't know whether it's handful or not, but to me, I think it's language. Because if you travel to somewhere like China, it's really challenging if you can't speak any language, any Chinese at all, not even hello or I'm hungry, then it could be very, very challenging. And when we travel to other places to work, etc., language is always like the first thing that you wanna learn about. For example, some countries such as Sweden can be very English friendly, but if you travel to somewhere like Japan as a Chinese, they wouldn't necessarily understand either Chinese or English. And the easy way to communicate with them might be writing Chinese characters, because Chinese and Japanese, we share some characters such as toilet or food. We actually share the similar characters that people can understand. And talking about this, I have a interesting story when we traveled to Budapest once for one of our clients, and I was traveling with one of my colleagues, and he was like hanging in the city alone. And when he came back, he told me he wanted to visit the river, the Danube River, and but he doesn't really understand how to pronounce it, or what's the English name it. So he grabbed someone on the way and asking that guy, do you know where is the da 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 da? And then the people actually know where the place is, and give him a direction of the river direction. So he finally find the place. So it's really about the language and also the culture, to be honest, to survive in a new place. And if you are visiting somewhere like Japan, like myself, that do not speak the language at all, then the preparation it is required is way more than where you can speak the language, to be honest.
Yeah. So yeah. What kind of sentences are then really essential to learn?
For me, I always learn something like a special hello or a goodbye, because when you talk to your client, also thank you. If you use that language, people may feel like you actually know them, and it kind of break the ice a little bit. But to survive, I always try to. When I was a student, I tried to learn different kind of languages, such as do you know how to speak Chinese, or do you know how to speak English? And then when I actually go into work and travel around the world, and then I realized that's a waste of the time and your effort, because you can just say Chinese or English, and then that's an easy way to test whether they speak Chinese or English, rather than speaking can you speak Chinese in German, which does not make any sense. So instead of that, I learned something like I'm hungry, or what is the price, etc. To make sure that I can find some bargains, some local fairs, etc.
Yeah, cool, thanks. Jung-Shun, do you want to round this off with your tips?
I think my tips would be something related to food, because to be honest, personally, I'm really Chinese. I have a really Chinese stomach. So when I was in the UK, for the first week, I ate the salad and the fish and chips for the whole week. Then I decided to cook by myself. Yeah, so I went to the supermarket and bought the cooking stuff and cooked by myself with my friends every day. So we feel like we're back to life. So I think my tips would be, maybe before you enter into a different culture or a different country, maybe if you want to stay for a long time, maybe you need to prepare to learn how to cook for your for your food.
Also, some of our colleagues, they bring the Chinese instant noodle in their luggage, because
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I love Western food, so that's not a challenge for me. But I always have the colleagues who open their luggage and it's like at least 5 packs of the instant noodle, because it's not necessarily very close to the Chinese supermarket from the client side, and also it can be very pricey compared to what it really is in China. So that's definitely a useful tip, to be honest.
Yeah. Jojo, do you want to add on this?
Yes, because I was born in China, then I moved to the UK, and then now I'm in the Netherlands. Every time I go back to my root city, Chengdu, I always bring half of the suitcase with the spices, the ingredients, and some of them actually is not allowed by the Dutch custom or the British custom, but I never get caught. So some spicy peppers or black peppers or some local Chengdunese spicy peppers or the hot pot sauce. So I said, if the Dutch custom gonna take it over, I'm gonna cry in front of him. That's how I survive in the Netherlands with all the cheese and bread and the milk. So yeah, so that's very, very, very handy if you are from China or from somewhere that you move to the Netherlands or the UK, that you want to have your local food, and you really need to know how to carry your secret ingredients to this country.
I can totally relate to that. My cheese got taken away from me once when I came from the Netherlands back to China, and I didn't hide it well enough, and the dogs found it. So it was very sad.
Yes. I mean, yeah, for the policy, I understand they want to avoid some imported insects or disease or anything, but yeah, but it's cheese. It's spicy pepper, yeah. What else you can do?
I was saying, Jojo, it won't help if you cry in front of the custom, because one of my clients had the experience. She visited China for the first time to kind of meet the team, and she loved hot pot. So she has like half of her luggage with the 火锅底料, which is the ingredients of the hot pot. And she was too naive, and when she entered the Australian border, and she went to the declaration saying this is our food, and then it was like thrown immediately away from her. And the second time when she visited China and went back to Australia, she decided to not declare anything, and it was safe and sound. It's not suggested, by the way, for any YouTubers watching this video, but it's just
yeah, I also never declared that I have suspected ingredients to bring, but yeah, if they take it away, it's okay, sorry, I don't know, I just play a very stupid foreigner that I don't know, you can take it away, sorry. But if they don't take it away, then I have my delicious Chinese dishes in the Netherlands.
That's true. Wow, this was such a nice discussion. Is there any last things people want to share before we round off?
Maybe Sarah, we can share our LinkedIn profiles in the chat if you want to connect with each other, or yeah, check out where everyone works or share experiences afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I will put in our meetup or UXify LinkedIn profile anyhow, because it will be really cool if there.
How is LinkedIn being used in China actually?
Yeah.
Not very widely used, I was going to say.
What do you use to, like, as a professional social platform?
There are a lot of
Chinese version.
Yeah, Chinese version of it, but not necessarily exactly the same as LinkedIn. But LinkedIn in China, I would say only people working in international companies will have the LinkedIn. Even for most of the people, they don't have LinkedIn.
Yeah, I would say it's still WeChat. If you go to like a business fair or a conference, when you exchange contacts with someone, it's always just scanning each other's WeChat QR code. And yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah. I have one last poll that I'm really curious about. We always want to improve, of course, our events, and we're really happy that we could continue these monthly events despite of the corona crisis going on in the Netherlands. But we're always really curious about what people think of it. So please fill in our questionnaire, and if you have any other suggestions or companies, or we have these UX meets blogs introduced, we're always really curious about what kind of blog could be interesting for you. So if you have any suggestions, please feel free to contact us. So this was the end of this UX Meets Big Tech blog. Upcoming blog and upcoming events are still to be discussed. So I really wanted to share with you, join us for next event. It will be on this and this date, but we don't know yet. But we keep you, of course, posted via our channels. We have a YouTube channel, we have a LinkedIn channel, a meetup group channel, and we are not that active, but we have Facebook groups. So I think that's it from our part. Thanks so much, Lisa, Catherine, and Jungshun, to join this discussion. And it was really cool collaboration with each other. I think it was really cool that we could do something with these different time zones and totally different culture. And I'm really, happy about how things went.
Yeah, thank you all for the nice questions. This was a really nice discussion. In the meantime, it became dark here.
Yeah.
So I can show you the light outside. And I'm the last person in the office right now.
Same. I'm like actually turning off my virtual background because the office is like completely dark because everyone else left. It's Friday night. Yeah.
I'm happy to see that people left, because I'm also hearing sometimes these stories about working cultures that you have to continue working all the time. It's really good to see that people actually go home and enjoy their weekends. Nice. So I see some people have suggestions for a topic or a company. Please feel free to share it with us. This poll kind of feature in Zoom doesn't allow open answers, so please put it in the chat. So that's it, I think. Let's wrap up.
Thanks everyone for your questions.
Thank
and
you.
for the organizing this call as well. Yeah. Really nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, really nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, very nice to see you guys.
Weekend all.
Thank you all.
Have a good weekend.
Nice weekend.
Super nice.